friends. Welcome to the Inspiring Heights podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kaiser, and I am delighted that you are here with us today. Our mission here at Inspiring Heights is to inspire you, our friends, to grow closer in your relationship with Jesus and to live inspired in your day-to-day life. We talk about all things faith, rhythmic living, and homemaking. Listen, we know you have a zillion podcasts that you could listen to, and we are honored that you chose to sit here with us today. With that, let's get right to it. A few months ago, I got to sit down with a couple of my favorite humans, Jami and Janessa, to talk about friendship. Both of these women have been on the show before, and they are two of my lifelong friends. We talk about this in the show, but we were literally friends from the time we were babies until now. And it was so delightful to be able to sit down with both of them and reminisce and laugh and cry. We did both of those things in this show. And we just got to talk about what friendship looks like, why it's important, how to heal when friendship goes sideways, and what it means to be active and a part of one another's life. I am so excited to finally get to share this with you. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jami and Janessa. Thank you so much for being on the show. So this is both, you guys have both been on the show. I'm super excited to have us all together. This has been like a dream of mine for a long time. But I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Yeah, so I'm Jami, and I am married and have two little ones and live on a farm and ranch with my husband and his family. I'm a nurse. And
what is your Instagram handle?
Jami Ortman _ the mama coach. So yes, I'm also starting a new business for nurse coaching consulting.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're having a baby, check it out.
Yeah, hit me up. Or even if you have kids, potty training, sleep training.
All the things.
I'm Janessa. I'm single as a Pringle, and I am a high school music teacher in Wyoming.
Yeah, so fun. And we are on like our annual girls trip, which is so fun. And we are just we're living our best life. So we have been friends since we were babies. We were all born the same year, and our moms all attended the same church. And yeah, we've just been like besties from the very beginning. On our annual girls trip, we love to just have time to laugh and reminisce about fun memories. Do you guys have any funny things that you have to tell the world about?
Where do we start?
Yeah, I guess it's a funny memory, but also just a fun memory to think about. Jami and Vanessa both went to small country schools in elementary school. And when I think about our friendship, we were Sunday friends that did things during the week outside of school. And I don't know if that made us better friends once you guys came to school in middle school and high school or what, but I think it was a special privilege to see you guys when we got to see each other during the week because we didn't go to school together and spend the majority of our time together. And so I was thinking about that earlier, our friendship was very different than the traditional kid friendships because we didn't spend all of our time together at school. And so I think that was cool and kind of a fun thing for me. Because, you were my not at school friends. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely was a big deal if we got to have sleepovers. And it was, the highlight of the month,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And I did piano lessons at Jami's house. So that was, cool for me to ride the bus out to Jami's house and then got to ride back in with whoever was bringing us to town that day. And so, that was fun for me, too. And then you started piano lessons with our piano teacher later.
Yeah.
I think that was a fun bonding memory too. We all kind of play the piano still, but kind of a thing we did together too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, there's a lot of funny things that we used to do. Do you remember how Jami used to get in trouble for reading so much?
Yeah.
Her mom would literally take books away from her if she got in trouble.
And I didn't understand it.
I just loved books so much. Yes, by the time I was 13, my mom had to limit me to one book a week, like one chapter book a week, because I would not do my chores or I would stay up too late. But yeah, I really loved reading a lot. And now it's like crazy to think about.
Like I remember anytime we would drive from your house to town, like she would read in the very back of the Suburban.
That or crochet.
Yeah.
Makes me want to hurl just thinking about it. I can barely look at my phone.
The other thing that I remember, speaking of riding to town with the Harrington girls, they had a Shania Twain. I don't know if it was a CD or it was a tape, wasn't it?
Yes.
In their car. And we didn't listen to Shania Twain. Like, we listened to KSLT. And, like, that's all that was on in the car unless we were with my dad. And sometimes the radio worked in his old pickup. But, like, it was always KSLT. And then I remember coming home singing Honey, I'm Home. And my mom was like, where did you learn that? And, like, second or third grade?
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was like, oh, that's what we listened to with the Harrington girls in the car. And I thought it was, like, the coolest thing ever because I knew Honey, I'm Home. And, like, now that I listen to that song, I'm like, I can see why my mom was like, why are you singing that?
So...
Not that it's a terrible song, but like...
Right. That's so funny that you say that. And you said like first or second grade.
Yeah.
My mom has a video of my sister and I singing Honey, I'm Home and I've had a hard day as puppets. We had made paper bag puppets as Shania Twain and George Strait.
Oh.
That was also another big, person in our house. And we were behind the recliner putting on a performance, and we were probably, I don't even think I was 5. And so that's kind of going off on another whole thing. But George Strait, Reba McEntire, Shania Twain, we indoctrinated you.
Yeah. And it wasn't that I had never heard them before, but like my first real memories of like memorizing a song because I heard it on the radio was like singing with you guys in the car on the way to or from your house. And it was always Honey, I'm Home. I don't remember any of the other songs on that tape.
That's really funny.
Oh my gosh.
We did spend a lot of time in the car together because I lived out of town. Vanessa, you lived out of town. And yeah, anytime we got together, there was always lots of fun car trips.
Yeah. Do you guys remember how I used to like to have my back tickled?
Yes.
Oh my word.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'd like play a game. I'd be like, you draw on my back and I'll tell you I'll guess what you're drawing.
I'll guess what it is.
Then I'd be like, oh, I don't know. You should draw it again.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And then you liked, was it makeup brushes?
I was going to say,
just
you
rub
carried.
this on just rub it on my cheek or on my back or on my arm. I like how it feels. And we're like, okay. And then we just like sit there and talk or do whatever. And somebody's like rubbing your back or brushing you.
And I remember being like, okay, well, is it my turn? I think you need to go a little bit longer.
Just a little longer.
Okay.
I think you can be creative and figure something else out to draw on my back.
Oh my gosh. Some things never change. Ben still rubs my back very often.
That leads me to growing up, I didn't love to clean my room or put my clothes away or anything. And Jami and Vanessa are like the ultimate organizers and kind of have always been. And so like they would come to my house and Jami would be like, we have to clean before we go to bed. Like, we're picking up your room. And Vanessa's like, yeah, I can't sleep if there's anything touching the floor. And I'm like, really? Because I just like hop on my bed and go to sleep every night. And so like I always remember you guys being like, are you going to clean your room before we come over? Very nice. But then I'm like, not if you guys do it when you get there.
That was our fun activity of going to Janessa's house. Yes. Cleaning her room.
But then I remember going to Vanessa's house because Jami's room was always clean. And Vanessa would be like, did you put your clothes back in your bag or are they out on the floor? I'm not going to be able to go to sleep if your clothes are on the floor. And I'm like, yes, I put them back.
And speaking about Vanessa's room, we have to talk about her Germex collection.
Yeah.
That was also organized. Was it alphabetically or by color?
I think it was alphabetical.
Yeah, on the top of your file cabinet, it was all the mini little Germexes from Bath & Body Works.
Yeah. What kind of organizer did you buy?
I think they were just sitting there.
They were just sitting there.
Right?
Was it later that you bought like a little thing that they went in?
No. They always sat on like top of something, like some piece of furniture. They were always, alphabetized. And when in college, we had to evacuate the town. And the one thing I packed in my car was my Germex collection.
Oh my gosh, you still have it?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
You guys, do you know how many chemicals are in those little tiny bottles?
Girl, I know.
I'm old now, and I'm like, dude. Think of all those nasty things I put in my body.
So funny. You were talking about things dropping online and like ordering them right away. Like, I think if that would have been the time that we lived in, you would have been on Bath and Body Works like, there's a new scent, it's coming out tomorrow, and like order them.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't sure if you maybe kept them, even though yes they're toxic, but maybe resold them as a collector's item or something.
No, during COVID, I thought about it. Like, we could have been rich, honey, if I would have had my Germex collection.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So we want to spend some time like just talking about friendship today. And well, we have literally been talking for like 24 hours. But I wanted to start by talking about why friendship is really important in this life that we're living.
When you sent us this question, it paused me, I guess, a little bit to like think about that. Like, you know, you could have like the quick answer of, oh, like you kind of need people. I mean, and that is kind of it in the short. But we were created to have relationship. And I mean, you need it. Isolation is very scary and it's not a safe place. If you don't have those friendships to be not only a source of encouragement, but also a source of accountability, then like the only voice that you are listening to is your own, which can become skewed very quickly and easily, especially if you're in a hard place or going through a hard circumstance, or just your own voice is not always, the correct voice, especially in those times. So I actually, and I'm going to probably say it wrong now, but when I was coming to my sister's place on the way to coming here, they have a little plaque outside their door that said, "A friend is God's way of saying you don't have to do it alone." Or it was way catchier and cuter, and I should have taken a picture of it because I immediately thought of, oh yeah, we're gonna talk about this. But yeah, like God gave us friends and relationships because he knew we needed them. That's how he created us. And I think it's also a way of giving us a part of himself also. So we have maybe a comparison, even though he's like the greatest friend, right? Yeah. But he maybe gives us little glimpses of that in our human friends as well.
Oh, so that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like we were wired and have the desire to feel known. I come at it from a perspective of like friendships and family are the only relationships I have, most people that way, but like not married or dating or anything. So that's not a relationship that I'm in currently. And so like for me, having close friends and like you guys who have known me my entire life, Jami is 16 days older than me. And so like literally my entire life, like having the peace of mind in knowing that someone knows me and knows me well enough for me to be like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but you are able to be like, well, I know how you function and I know how you think and I know, those different things to be that encouragement because the desire is to be known, the encouragement of like, you are known fully by God, but also you are known by me and I love you and I know you. I think that's a cool thing about friendships, especially when they're like ours or long lasting.
Right. I was going to say that too. I mean, to add on to what you're saying of the longevity of our friendship is, like exactly what you were saying, being known and having the type of friendship that we have for that length of time. Like we have all gotten mad at each other in one form or the other, on multiple occasions maybe, but we always like come back together. And we've seen each other in like the really hard like valleys, and then we've also like gone through the mountains with each other. Like we've gone through so much, and I think that's what makes our friendship so special. And this, we might chat a little bit more about this a little bit later on, but yeah, just having that, the amount of time that we are together, and it makes it easier to be friends, like as adults, because we've gone through all of that. We have like the length of time. We know each other so well in all of the things that, we can just like pick up right back where we started.
Yeah.
Even if we're apart for a while.
And it's easier to confront different things where we're like, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, maybe let's chat about it. And I mean, this has happened for me several times where I think I'm like, so I had this really good thought, and we're like girls' weekend, we talk about it. And by the end of the weekend, I'm like, I don't think my thought was as good as I thought it was. Now, throughout the weekend, like, it wasn't like you guys were like, you're totally wrong. It was just like, let's think about it from a different perspective, or I've thought about that too. And the confrontation of that isn't really confrontation. It's just coming at it from an angle that you guys know me and I know you, and we know how to have that conversation, where it would have been different with other friends or acquaintances that I have, Oh,
yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the things too, is like, I think there's a difference between friend and acquaintance. And I think that so often in our culture and society, we just merge the two together. I think that even if you spend some bit of time with someone, like at church or, wherever, like whatever circle that like life brings you together in, even if you spend some repeated time with them, you can still like remain at that acquaintance level if you don't make a pretty solid effort to move into the friendship area, where you start to like have conversations that go beyond like, oh yes, it's sunny outside, and oh, I get to go see my family this weekend, I'm so excited, and I think that, to Jamie, back to your point, I think that those, like a mass number of acquaintances without like deep friendship can lead to isolation. And so I think even humans who are around a lot of people all the time can be very, very isolated. And I think friendship requires work and consistency and like uncomfortable things at times. And sometimes in the like hustle of life, you have to like kind of stop and be intentional and go like, I actually have to choose this over this, like, because I value like this friendship, this thing. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so important. What about when friendship gets hard? Like, we've all kind of alluded to that. Like, what about when, you go through a friend breakup, which is real, like really hard when that happens. Or even if it isn't like a breakup, but it's like seasons of life change, something happens that causes some like tension and like just never quite fully like recovers from that. Tell us about like what your experience has been in that, how you walked through it. What advice you'd have for someone who is walking through it or might walk through it?
I think the cool thing about God that I think about is that he's going to provide people for you in every season of life that you're in. And I see that when I think back, like I've always had you two, but then like we move away for college and all of us are in different places. And I'm like, I'm never going to make friends like them, And then, I have new friends and they're, some of them still now are like my closest friends. And then grad school, new friends. My first teaching job, I had new friends. And in all of those areas, God has provided friendships. And like you said, maybe not necessarily a breakup, but like a drifting apart, or you go from friends and now I would consider them acquaintances because I don't know them on that level and where we're at. And I just think it's really cool that God knows and created that desire in us to have those friends and will provide them if we're diligent in seeking him and requesting of him and all of that. And I think about when I moved to Wyoming, I was so scared because I was like, all of my friends are in Oklahoma and I'm never going to have friends like them. And it's hard. Like that isolation that we just talked about is so hard, but God provides in ways that you're like, didn't see that happening. But he also, in my life, because of like friendships like yours, I have that standard of like, we're not going to be friends like that. I can already tell. so you just learn to choose your people differently. And I think that saves you from having friend breakups as well. I guess I don't know the answer to like, how do you maneuver through a friend breakup? Because I don't know that I've had like we're friends and we're not, and I'm probably never going to talk to you again because we had this conversation. So Jamie, I don't know if you have an answer to that one either.
I don't know if I have a great answer. Yeah, I think there have definitely been the drifting apart friendships in different seasons of life that you go through. A lot of it is like proximity. Like you become friends with this person because they're in the same group or the same Bible study or the same classes, in college and whatnot as you. So there's been that. The closest thing I maybe have to a friend breakup is moving from one place to another in a lot of big life changes, like getting married, starting a new job, moving to a new place, all of that. And even the culture change that I was experiencing too. I think there were some unmet expectations, or maybe just like set expectations that maybe both of us even had of, oh yeah, we'll for sure continue this friendship. Yes, she was a very, very close friend. Like we spent every day together. And when that, we both thought, yes, we're going to chat every week, or, we had these expectations, and then that didn't happen. And there was definitely some hurt there. And we kind of had chatted about it here and there, but there was still, the comments, and then we never really got back to that deep friendship that we had. And it had been very deep. Like we did ministry together. We spent, like I said, every day together. And so that was a little bit difficult when that ended. It's seasons. And as far as navigating it well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I have a great answer for that. I definitely had to kind of let some things go when it became maybe not, I don't want to say, oh, it wasn't good for me, so I had to let it go, because friendship isn't all about self, right? But when it was becoming too maybe like a give kind of a relationship, we did have to kind of just say, this, like we can still be friends, but it's not going to be the same, and we both have to be okay with that. And we're acquaintances, we chat here and there, but it's definitely not the same. And there was hurt, and I don't know if it was actually ever resolved, but we're just kind of going our different ways and say hey every once in a while. Yeah, there was hurt there, and there was like, how do you navigate this? And the unmet expectations. Like I said, it was a season, and like Janessa, you said, like God provides other friends as well. And I think that it was a friend I made in adulthood because we were doing ministry together, because we were spending so much time together. So proximity definitely played a big part in that. And so when that was taken away, it required more effort. And that was just at the stage in my life, that was something I could not give the amount that she was wanting.
I think that seasons play a huge role. And I know like anytime where I've moved away, or like friends have moved away, it requires a really significant amount of work to like stay connected, especially like for us. But it's a little different because we have like such a large, thick like foundation and roots. But when you've been someone's friend for like a few years and they move or you move, like it becomes, you're like, I have to really work at. And like if it's you or if it's them, whoever is moving, they're like building their life back wherever they are now, right? Like in their church and in their community. And so there has to be this grace for like giving them the time and space that they like need to do that. I definitely, like, I've been through kind of like one major friend like breakup, and it was very hard. And it was really, it like went on for a really long time. And there was an attempt at reconciliation that I would say like led to like being acquaintances instead of like enemies. Yeah, it just definitely never like healed the way that it was like originally. But I think that there's a couple of things like you kind of said, like, you know, friendship isn't all about self. And there's this like, it needs to be healthy, because if it isn't healthy, then like that can get yucky pretty quickly too. And so I've definitely also been in that place where like friends have been like manipulative or like controlling or like, and that gets challenging as well. And so I think there is like, in my mind, is so much of it comes back to like communication. Like, hey, this hurt me when this happened. Can we have a conversation about it? And I don't know if any of us really thrive on hard conversations. I don't think that's any of our strengths. None of us are 8s in this circle. I go to 8 in stress, so that's fun. When I get really mad, then I'll
just
throw
ask
down.
my husband.
But I feel like if I was to give advice to someone who was like walking through a hard friendship season, that's what I would say. Is like, you need to communicate and you need to be prayerful and like mindful of asking God to like lead the way and like discern where, like, is this a healthy season or not healthy?
I would agree to the grace thing too. I mean, always be kind, right? Like, it's, even if someone has hurt you or it's not going the way you want it to go, you never know what someone is maybe going through that they're not telling you. Even if you have your friendship, you think you tell each other everything. Sometimes there's just stuff that people have a hard time sharing, or they just don't feel it's the right time or whatnot. So you don't always maybe necessarily know that. And so, yeah, being able to give grace and still be kind in all of that, and going along with having those hard conversations, like, yes, and being able to do them lovingly too can like definitely make a big difference. And in some cases, like, the only way that you can have a loving conversation is with the Holy Spirit within you. So the praying about it and giving it to the Lord beforehand, like, sometimes that's the quote unquote only thing you can do to make it go well.
On the flip side of friend breakups, that's kind of hard to say. It's like a tongue twister. We've had this friendship for a really long time, and you know, like you said, like, we've seen each other in our highs and lows of our like life, literally, and we've all been mad at each other at different times and like struggled with different things. What does it take and look like to like hold like fast to this friendship and keep it alive?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't remember the exact conversation that we had or where we were. We were probably FaceTiming or something in college, and we were like, we have to commit to getting together once a year. Like, I remember the conversation, but I don't remember if we were together at the time or if we were just talking about it. And I think all of us have made it a priority to do that, because if we hadn't, I don't know that we would have tried. You know, we had the conversation. We said, like, can we commit to this? Can we? It's really only once a year that all three of us are together at the same time. Even though I was thinking about, like, our parents all still live in the same town. We should see each other more often than we do. But, you know, ships passing in the night. But I think it was just that conversation of, like, we're important to each other, and that's a priority that we want to make. And it's changed as the two of you have gotten married, and Jamie's have had kids, and it's changed. But I appreciate the fact that you guys have had that conversation with your spouses and said, like, hey, I really want to commit to this still, because I think that's a huge part of why our friendship is the way it is.
Yeah, I think, you know, the laying of the foundation, like you mentioned, the thick foundation we have, and that definitely plays a part. Not saying you can't have a deep friendship if you don't have that long foundation, but we have just, all the experiences, all of the highs and lows, everything. And then, the committing to just, we are going to do this. Thinking about this question also, sometimes we go weeks or months even without texting or chatting even, but we can just pick it right back up. And in my head, it's like, you guys are just a part of my life. Like, there's not, like, even if we don't chat, like, you're just there. And I know that, and there's comfort in that. And it's just, like, I don't know if I can even describe it well. Like, it's, yeah, you guys, I can't imagine life without you guys. Even though we aren't, you know, every day texting, whatnot. You guys are friends. Yeah. So, and I don't know if that even answers the question correctly, but it's just, you've always been there, and I can't picture you guys not ever. You know, like, it's just, you're just we're just woven in, and it's just like, that's just how it is. And becoming adults and going through the different seasons of everything, it has changed, I guess, in how we definitely have to prioritize and make more of an effort and put more energy into continuing our friendship. But I feel also at this stage, when we've been friends for so long, it's almost, in some ways, you know, almost effortless too, because I know that I can just be like, hey, like, this is what I'm whatever doing, or we can chat about this, or I mean, we could even like just chat about the weather, and that's also still like comforting, because like I was talking with them, like they're just a part of me, you know. So it still does require effort, and I think that's why it also is so special to what we have, because at this point, 30 years, it's become even maybe a little, we don't have to put as much effort in because of that.
And I think something else too about 30-year-long friendships that is cool is we have known each other's like dreams and desires forever. So like, as we're like reaching those goals, and it's so easy to like celebrate together and do those things together. Like, you know, like you guys are getting married, and like that's like the most exciting thing. We've dreamt about this our entire lives, and like being together for those moments, and like not necessarily together because I wasn't there when either of your children were born, but like knowing that like that has been your desire for the last 25 years, and then it's happening. It's like kind of like my desires are fulfilled too, because like I want for you to have everything that you've dreamt and desired. And so like you make new friends, and you don't know what their childhood was like and what they've always talked about, and you know, but like then it's like, oh, we've talked about this for so long. But then even in hard life moments, like you guys know how hard it was for me, and I know how hard it was for you, because we grew up with that, or we did, you know. So I think that makes it easier to stay connected, because you know those people are going to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's so true. Like, I know your grandma just passed away, and we were all together at her funeral, and when I left and like we were driving home, I was like, there is something so special in having friends whose family becomes your family. And that just doesn't, in adulthood, it doesn't happen like that very often. And so there's just something so special about that. And yeah,
that's kind of on a little bit of a funny note, our friend's family becoming our own family. It's funny because I get these random texts from my aunts who live in Wyoming. I just saw Janessa, and I went and said hi to her because she was at this sporting event that my kids were in, and like, I recognized her, and so or seeing you like, oh, I saw Vanessa at this coffee shop or downtown, or I get texts. So funny. My family, even my extended family, my aunts, uncles, cousins, know you guys, because
Yeah, and on that note, I see Jamie's family probably more than I see my own now.
And more than I do, for sure.
Because her cousins play in sporting events at my school, and this was just a funny conversation, but I was sitting with some of the young men that I teach, and we were playing the team that Jamie's cousin plays on, and they're like, wow, he's just so good. And he's like the nicest human I've ever met. And I'm like, I remember when he was born. And they're like, you what? And I'm like, well, that's my best friend's cousin. And so they're like, this is so weird. But then it also leads to like I was saying earlier about being terrified to move to a new place because you're not going to know anyone. You're not going to have friends. Like, your people are not there. And then you show up to a volleyball tournament or whatever, and you're like, I think I know that lady. And she, like, walks up to you and she's like, hey, and gives you a big hug. And you're like, I know people. And it's just, like, I don't know her on any kind of deep level other than I'm like, your picture was in Jamie's parents' house and I met you several times. And I know when your kids were born because it was one of those moments of excitement for us, you know? Yeah. And so then it's like, because of the deep friendships that I have connections, even if it's just a familiar face, you know, right, that like bring you some sort of comfort in a hard time. Or even like, you know, I got a flat tire in Sundance one time and I was like, I got to text Jamie, I wonder if her people are here, you know, and then it didn't work out that I had to call them, but I knew like you know, probably had that connection somewhere, which is so cool, you know. And that kind of leads into my brother finally got married because we introduced him to Jamie's college roommate. And, you know, the connections that you create because Jamie knew Jarrett on some kind of level because she also grew up with him her entire life. It was like, oh, like maybe this would be a good idea, you know, and you just create like those deeper connections. And then it turns into like, now we're all friends. And, you know.
Yeah. So sweet. I have a really funny story about your brothers. I remember. It's one of my favorite stories. Do you remember when we were learning about Newton's law of motion? An object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force.
I don't know how many times I've heard you say that. I remember when you were learning about that, you like said it and you said it so precisely. Like, I pictured you with these like little scientist glasses. Like, okay, this, yeah, whatever. I couldn't even say it perfectly like you do, but and again and again and again.
Every opportunity to say that.
My gosh, yes.
Like, you drive by a car and it slows down and you can see the people inside leaning forward and you're like, did you know that an object in motion tends to stay in motion? Like, every opportunity. And we're like,
yeah. So when we were learning that, I was like just super obnoxious about it. I have no idea why. And we were driving to youth group one night with your brothers and they were like getting annoyed with me. They were being kind, but they were probably annoyed with me. And so Gentry like fake slammed on the brakes and Jarrett fake hit his head on the dash. And I was like, an object in motion. You remember that?
I do now, yes.
Oh my goodness.
You laughed for so
long. Yeah.
And Gentry and Jarrett were like, did she not understand that I hit my hand on the dash? I didn't actually hit my head on the dash. And I was like, it's fine. She thought it was funny. We'll talk about it later. Yes, I remember that. That was funny.
That was so funny.
I remember hearing that story being told at youth group again and again and again. And seriously, you laughed so
every
hard
time.
Every time. And I mean, of course, your laugh makes people laugh. So I don't even know if you learned anything that night at youth group.
I don't really remember.
We learned that an object in motion.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness.
Oh, yeah, that is really funny. So this song comes on my Spotify all the time because I listen to Ben Rector, like, a lot. And he has a song called Old Friends. And I don't know if you two have listened to it. I think I've showed it to you before. But part of the words say, no one knows you like they know you, and no one probably ever will. You can grow up and make new ones. But the truth is there's nothing like old friends because you can't make old friends. And every time it comes on, I'm like, that's Jami and Janessa. And I try to insert my newer friends into it. And I'm like, it just doesn't work, you know? And so I like music. And so like when I find songs like that I can put with my people, it's always really cool to me. And so that's my song with you guys is Old Friends by Ben Rector.
I do remember when you first sent that maybe sent it in a group message, or you at one point shared it with me or something. And I'm pretty sure I cried the first time because it was just like, oh, so yes, sweet. Yeah, like that's so true. And so it just makes me like so thankful for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Girl friends, thank you so much for being here. Before we go, the last thing we always do is tell us about what's been inspiring you lately.
So I know that on the other episode we talked about teaching and back to school and everything, but I think just right now, since we're recording this right before we go back to school, something that is inspiring me is being able to get back in my classroom and see my kids thriving, because at the beginning of the year, most of the time they're pretty excited to come back and they just want to jump in and like be involved in everything. And so I think like as hard as it is for teachers to be done with summer break, thinking about like the excitement that comes with the beginning of the year in the students is kind of inspiring me to be like, okay, we're getting ready. They're ready. I'm going to be ready. Like get in the mindset. And so that's inspiring me to, get my classroom ready, but also like take a minute because you only have 2 weeks. So like most of the time I'm like, go, 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 go. We have to get ready. But thinking about that has been like, it's okay to take a breath. It's okay to go do this with your friends, or it's okay to do these things. And so I guess that's inspiring you to, me to take a minute.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think what is exciting to me right now, in all that I am currently doing, I am taking courses right now to become a lactation consultant, which I was pretty excited about at the beginning of the summer, just because that has become a passion of mine. And as I'm taking these courses, it's just getting me, so much more excited, and I just am like eating it up, kind of nerding out a lot on it. And so that's not my only driving force for, just pushing through and going forward, but it's very exciting. Learning new things is exciting. Learning new things that you could share with people to hopefully help them succeed is just kind of lighting a fire under me right now. So that's what's, inspiring me, because it's super fun. I really love learning things, like new things.
Yeah. I love it. Cool. Okay. Thanks, friends. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Friends, thank you so much for listening in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. If you're so inclined, we would love for you to leave a review of the show wherever you listen to podcasts. This helps potential new listeners to get a feel for the show before they even hit play. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Inspiring Heights. If you haven't already, you can sign up for our newsletter, Inspiration from the Moment, by visiting our website, inspiringheights.org, and hovering over the Contact Us link. If you have friends that aren't yet subscribers, please share the podcast with them if you think it's something that would be helpful and inspiring to them. Okay, friends, until next time, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.